Hello students. Today we will read Social Science History Chapter 5 Medieval Architecture. In this chapter we will read about the architecturing done during this period. We will read about temple architecture, Indo-Islamic architecture, and then we will read about Shah Jahan's patronage of architecture, that is monuments like Taj Mahal. Let's begin with the first module of this chapter. A large number of monuments and structures were built in the medieval period by various kings in North and the South India, as well as in the regional kingdoms. Students, they have been divided into two categories. The first one was religious and the second one was secular. In religious, it includes temple, mosques, stupas and church, and secular includes cities, forts, palaces, towers, tanks and wells. Apart from being impressive, grand and wondrously decorative, these monuments help us to reconstruct the history of this period by providing some of the very useful information. These informations are: the first one is the king built fort, palaces and new capital towns to exhibit their wealth and power to their rival and to the general people. They also celebrated their victories, particularly the tough ones, by building some of these structures. Some kings wanted to show their devotion to their gods and hence commissioned many holy buildings, including temples and mosques. And apart from monuments, the other structures, some kings also constructed wells, water tanks to emit the common people. Now we will see about some of the different architecture on temple, that is temple architecture. There were two distinct styles of temple building in medieval India. The first is Nagara and the second is the Dravida. We will first see about Nagar style. In the northern part of the country, the Nagar style of temple architecture was quite popular. Student, under this style, the temples of North India have the first a Garbhagriha, the inner room where an ideal of deity is placed. A Shikhara, a tower of Garbhagriha. A Mandapa, the prayer hall. A Pradakshina path, that is the passage of walking around the Garbhagriha. The Shikara of the Nagara style temple are beehive shaped, that is wide in the middle and narrow gentle at the top. The gateway of these temples are simple and modest. Students, Chandelas use this style to build many temples at Khajuraho. Example: Praswanath Temple, Vishwanath Temple and Kandriya Mahadev Temple. Even the temples of Odisha, Mukteshwar Temple and Lingaraj Temple at Bhubaneswar, the Sun Temple at Konark and Jagannath Temple at Puri used this style only. The Dilwara temples at Mount Abu were built by Solanki rulers using white marbles and inlaid work, and were decorated with beautiful sculptures and carvings of flowers and plants. The next is Dravida style. In the southern part of the country, this style of architecture was popular for the temple building. Temple built under this style also have a Garbhagriha for the ideal of deity and the mandap for devotee for praying. But few features are different from Nagara style. They are a tower over the Garbhagriha is called Vinama, a pyramid shaped. Temples are often situated in an enclosed area with more elaborate gateways called Gurupurams. The Pallavas, Pandyas and Cholas were great temple builders who followed this style of temple architecture. The Pallavas built the Rath Chariot Temple and the Shore Temple at Mahabalipuram and Kailashnath Temple at Kanchipuram. Pandyas built a number of temples in Madurai, that is Meenakshi Temple, The Cholas achieved great recognition in temple building. The early temples of Cholas were quite simple made and later become more grand and bigger. Their famous temples includes Brijveshwar Temple, also known as Rajendreshwara Temple at Thanjavur, dedicated to Lord Shiva. Now let's move towards Indo-Islamic architecture. Students during the Delhi Sultanate, the Turks and Afghans introduced new styles of architecture. When fused with existing tradition forms in India, it gave birth to the unique style known as Indo-Islamic architecture. This style of architecture used domes, the true arch, minarets, mosaic, and geometric motifs, while retaining many of the Hindu motifs such as bell, the lotus, and the swastika. Main features: an arch is curved structure constructed over two straight sides of the doorway or window. In particular, students during the early Sultanate period, collateral arches were made. In these arches, bricks were arranged also to each other, like overturned steps to meet at the top. But the Alai Darwaza, built by Alauddin Khilji, introduced the true arch. This is curved with keystone at the center. This keystone produces enough pressure to hold the other stones at the place and helps in the construction of wider entrances. The dome is semicircular, sphere-shaped roof of building. Domes added to the garden of a building. The Humayun tomb in Delhi and the Taj Mahal in Agra and the Gol Gumbad in Bijapur were few buildings with domes. Mosque. Just as temple followed a particular style of architecture, mosques too were built in accordance with certain principles. The minaret is a tall tower used to make call, that is azan, for the prayers. The mihrab is built into an inside wall to indicate the direction of the Mecca, a holy place of Muslims. Since human representation or imaginary is not allowed in mosque, they were instead richly embellished with decorative calligraphy, geometric and floral patterns, and verses from the Quran. Tombs. Tombs are an important part of Islamic architecture. This usually comprised the hujra, dome chamber, a kenotap, a center, and the mihrab on the west wall, while the actual grave was in underground chamber. In the Mughal period, tombs became the perfect example of the combination of Persian and Indian architectural style. They were usually built on raised sandstone platform within the garden enclosure. Now, the next part we will read in module 2 of this chapter. Thank you.